Hello, my name is Jason Al-Agha, and this is my presentation on racial issues in sport. The two components that I'll be discussing in the presentation are the background and history of racial issues, as well as the issue in itself and examples of it. My research um, found me looking at South Africa. So first off, let me talk about South Africa. Um, Obviously, um, the post-apartheid period had um, tensions arising from the superior whites and pretty much all other races, including blacks and Indians, and so on and so forth. Um, the two sports that are associated with whites, rugby and cricket, kind of are given more prevalence, more importance because they are the sports associated with the whites, even though they are technically a minority in the country. Soccer, on the other hand, is predominantly the black sport in the country, um, but however is not given as much value or importance, despite blacks being the majority in the country and the continent, of course. Um, so basically, the study talked about how basically in it needs to the sport in itself kind of called for a re-racialization um, of the country in itself, and how those three different sports um, kind of call for this and basically looking to eliminate discrimination within South Africa. The other study, which I thought was more applicable to my everyday endeavors, was because it's an older study. Um, it was a survival analysis study, which was conducted in 1971 up until 1985. Basically, the study looked at career mortality of baseball players, mainly of whites, Hispanics, and blacks. Um, Essentially, if everything was all equal, performance would be the only thing that really matters when looking at the career mortality of baseball players. Essentially, performance was the most important thing looked at when deciding the mortality um, of the careers of baseball players. But in the case of blacks, um, basically their careers ended shorter and lasted less than that of Hispanics and whites. Um, Kind of surprising or unsurprising, depending on who you are. But what it was suggested in the study was that there's like an invisible ceiling placed on the percentage of black players. Um, that way, they can use black players when they're within the best of their career when they're younger. When they start getting older and they start to decline a little bit, they stop employing them while still employing white players who would decline just as much. Um, but this is mainly to appease the mainly white fan base of these baseball teams. So once a black player declines, starts to decline a little bit, they drop that player. Um, Therefore, black players' careers not lasting very long. Um, so that invisible ceiling is going to be observed um, again when talking about the issue in itself. So the issue in itself is how I see it, this lack of opportunities provided for minorities, mainly um, for blacks. Um, they're just simply not given as many opportunities as white people in general. Um, Jackie Robinson was the first example, as we saw in the movie 42. Um, Simply, wasn't given the opportunity to show what he was capable of doing. Um, Obviously, we saw what he was capable of doing, um, but it wasn't until after all the scrutiny and backlash he received, and the as well as the manager um, that he received, we had to go through all of that in order to see what he was actually capable of, because we simply weren't they weren't trying to give the opportunity to a black man playing in a white sport. Um, and again, that invisible ceiling was um, was portrayed Um, and another example, this time in the NFL. The NFL, their hiring practices are questionable, to say the least, when it comes to hiring people for leadership positions. Um, Basically, literature shows that black coaches are hired last. Not only that, but they're also fired first. So again, another example of black people, black coaches, qualified people, just not given the same opportunity afforded to other races, especially white people. Um, so again, they're the last ones given an opportunity, and then the first ones that get the opportunity taken away, even when they outperform other coaches that happen to be white. Black coaches simply are just not given the same opportunity in the NFL, which is something that most definitely needs to change in order to move toward a more tolerant and inclusive society within sports. Um, that's my presentation based on the background and history of racial issues in sports, as well as the issue in itself and examples of that issue. Um, Thank you for everything. I learned a lot in this course, and God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.